Alright, so we're here at Visions Electronics today in Surrey to go see my good buddy Anthony. We're going to go together, we're going to go install my new DNX995 head unit. So let's go on in and see our buddy. Alright, so we're at Anthony's shop right now, as you can see it. So he's got a full bay of cars going on today. Even his bay's stuff that he has to even go work on cars outside. So we currently have a Alpine double din head unit, aftermarket head unit already installed. The goal is to take this puppy out and install the new Kenwood head unit in. So let's start ripping it apart. These are the tools that we're going to use to remove the trim bezel around my stereo. Definitely try to pick yourself up something that's not really thin. Don't use a flathead screwdriver. You can easily gouge your trim, so definitely a pry tool like this that's super thin, or even a panel remover like that. Okay. I've removed this head unit so many times, I can pretty much do this with my own fingers, but it's hard with a camera, so I'm just going to put this thing down and try to see. So, let's see if I can do this with my fingers. Gently pry around the edges. When removing it, the trim bezel should just pop right off. You'll notice on the back here, that sometimes these clips might pop off, so just make sure they're put back together. And double check these guys right here, make sure they're all pushed off. If it is your first time doing it, like I said, recommend using a pry tool like this or a pry tool like that. Okay, so once the whether you're changing a factory stereo or an aftermarket stereo, there's 4 screws you want to remove. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4. So we're going to start remove those. One thing I definitely recommend as well is when you're removing any kind of head unit in any vehicle, whether it's aftermarket again or factory, make sure you have a blanket or some kind of soft cloth. So if you have, when you're doing your unplugging, you can just lay your blanket down, hold your head unit down, and you can hang it right there without scratching any other parts. So now we're just going to go ahead and remove any of the connectors. Unplug the antenna, and there you go. I've removed my factory head unit, or my aftermarket head unit. I did this install myself, and I'll be doing the install as well on my other on the DNX Kenwood head unit myself, just to kind of look at the install job that I did. So it's pretty good, it's pretty clean, everything is zap strapped and soldered and taped. It's not really a full rat's nest in here, which is good. And everything's still off the factory connector plug. So I'm just going to unhook all this and take everything to the bench so we can do the prepping on a bench. As for the Kenwood head unit, have a jumper harness that goes directly into the Subaru factory wire, so we don't actually cut any factory wire. Okay, so when doing any harness, you want to always make sure that you separate any wires you need and separate any wires you don't need. So let's go ahead and figure out which ones we do and don't need. That'll make a cleaner install. Okay, so these are some of the wires that I won't be using. As you can tell, I heat shrunk them and covered them up. Just makes it a little cleaner. So now I'm just going to start soldering all the wires that I do need. All my wires. This is pretty much what the harness is going to look like. You can take it one more step closer or further and test the tape the whole thing so you don't see any of the colors, so it's just a straight black harness. This is the SWRC compact This gives me factory steering wheel controls for my head unit. This will be plugged into the Kenwood for the steering wheel controls. These two wires will be tagged into the factory steering wheel control harness. This wire is for my front camera. These two wires are for my relay, for my alarm, so that I can turn my deck on using the auxiliary of my remote control of my alarm. This will get tagged into the factory reverse wire. And this is my remote turn on for my subwoofer and amplifiers, my aftermarket amplifiers. Okay, so lucky I double checked for the steering wheel remote harness. It was actually supposed to be the white wire of this harness going to the yellow of the vehicle harness, which is pin 14. So I almost did it backwards, where I did the yellow of the remote to the white. So I'm going to switch it around and try to correct it right away. Take this harness and do whatever necessary connections we need to make into the vehicle. See, I've pretty much wired everything into the car as well that I need to. So this is the relay harness that I was talking about earlier that you need to hook up to if you want your aftermarket alarm remote to control your stereo. So I can actually turn my stereo on without actually having the key in ignition using my aftermarket alarm. Again, this is the remote turn on lead to my aftermarket amplifiers. This is my ignition or my accessory turn on for my front camera. This is my steering wheel control wire hookup, and everything else is ready to be finally plugged in to the head unit. This is running directly into the reverse camera, so I'm going to do that right now. Ran the GPS antenna up here. A lot of people will run it actually in the dash as long as it's mounted to metal. I just thought that's actually a pretty decent spot. It's pretty centered off. So I'm going to run the cable for that. We're almost there for plugging everything in to the actual head unit. I still have to do my dash cam next. Dash cam. It doesn't matter what kind of dash cam you want. First thing you want to do is position where you want it. So in this case, I'm going to mount it right under the rearview mirror, so when I'm driving I can't actually even see it. It'll look almost factory. I could mount it up here, but then I'm worried about having it obscured with the actual mirror, so underneath looks like it's going to be the best place for this. Then we'll run the wire, we'll run it right up into the headliner, down through the pillar with my GPS antenna, so we'll do it all in one shot into the back of the stereo.
Alright, here it is, fully completed, installed. Took a little longer than usual because I had a lot of extra wiring to wire in, like I said, my front camera, my back camera, steering wheel controls, my dash camera up here, what else, USB, dual USB, Bluetooth, had to wire it all in, the auxiliary for my alarm, so there was a lot more plugins that I had to work with, especially on this new head unit. But overall, I'm very pleased with the look of the unit. I've got the flash on right now. This is actually the normal setting. What's really cool about this is I like how you can tilt it because it is on an angle, so that is directly flush with my eye level if I decide to run it like that. So you can change the position of that, which is really neat. I will go into a more in-depth review of this head unit later on, but for now it's installed, done, it's clean looking. I'm pretty happy with it. I was driving home and there is very little glare for this unit when the sun was beaming, so the screen quality is just magnificent on this.